Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan, and today I'm going to be talking about a thing like Goosebumps. This is a 1955 horror film starring Bela Lugosi and Tor Johnson, of all people. I did not expect to see him here with Bela Lugosi. This is called Bride of the Monster, and of course I have IMDb brought up on my phone. I actually saw this on an app that my fiance and I found on her TV at her apartment. It's a thing called Creepster, I think. It's like a $5 a month Netflix type thing, and they play a lot of old, like, public domain black and white horror movies and stuff, which I love that stuff. Sci-fi, film noir, horror, all that stuff. This is not a promotional thing. This is me just telling you that that stuff exists, and I love stuff like Creepster. That's my area. You know, that's the kind of stuff that I love because families can sit down and enjoy these crappy horror films. There are some more modern things on there as well from the last, maybe the last 50 years, like the 60s, the 70s, 80s, 90s, so on and so on. Some newer stuff that's really, really low budget. I haven't watched any of that stuff though, but I did see Bride of the Monster today when I wanted to test this out. And I gotta be honest with you, I had a good time watching it. It's an Ed Wood film of all things. My first Ed Wood film, not Plan 9 from Outer Space like most people end up seeing. I was really impressed with this. I didn't love it. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't as bad as I think Ed Wood gets a reputation for. Now, mind you, I haven't seen Plan 9 from Outer Space. I've heard things here and there, but I've never seen any clips from it, as far as I know. I've never seen anything that kind of references that, like a parody type thing, like Simpsons type thing. Haven't seen anything like that as far as I know. But Plan 9 from Outer Space is on my watch list at some point on my Amazon Prime account or my Vudu account, one of the two. And I want to see it at some point because I really dug this. I mean, I thought this was pretty decent, honestly. I know there's a sequel to this too. I think it's called Night of the Ghouls. Came out like the 80s, but it was supposed to come out, you know, in the 50s, like 59 or 60, because it got delayed because of financial reasons and whatnot. But we'll get to that one day if I ever get a chance to see the movie. But Bride of the Monster was really weird. But I had some moments that I liked a lot in it. It's not great. You know, the big reason I talk about this is because black and white horror films, whether it be directed by Ed Wood or not, are influences on R.L. Stein. They just are. And there are things like this that I really like to watch, just to see them. There's some really awful black and white horror films out there called, like, I think there was a one called, like, Creature from the Haunted Sea. You actually see that in the intro for Malcolm in the Middle, you know, if you've ever seen that show. There's some really bad black and white horror films out there. And there's some really great ones, like Frankenstein, like Dracula, Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon series, all these things. There's a lot of great ones, but there's some really awful ones. You know, just some things that really, really stand out as pretty terrible. And then some weird ones kind of in the middle, like this movie and The Alligator People with Lon Chaney Jr. that was kind of like the 60s, I think, when that came out, or the 50s. It was one of the two. But I like this kind of dumb monster movie, these kind of horror build-up a creature type things. I dig this stuff, especially the opening of this movie. The opening of this movie was so much fun. And I want to recommend this movie to people who are fans of Goosebumps, because especially if you're a younger viewer and you haven't seen a lot of movies, especially black and white movies. If you haven't seen a lot of black and white movies, this is not going to be for you. It's a very slow movie. But the fact that Bela Lugosi, Dracula himself, is in this. Ed Wood directs it, which is also notorious for being one of the worst filmmakers of all time. I don't understand how IMDb gave this film a 4 out of 10. I don't get that. I think it's a little underrated compared to what it should be, in my opinion. It has some tension to it. I liked it. But I think for the most part, this is a fun film. I don't see why there's so much hatred towards it. It's cool. I like it. It's decent. I wouldn't buy it. You know, that's why I'm glad I got to see it on the little app thing on the TV. But still, to get sort of into the story, I'm going to try to explain to you as much of the story as I understand. The opening of the film, basically, there is a house in the middle of nowhere, and kind of in the woods. These two policeman guys end up out there, and they have rifles and everything. And there's a big rainstorm going on, like this big storm. And I love the lightning effects. I don't know if that's just, you know, like public footage that was, you know, public domain footage, kind of like people use now, or if that was like literally a special effect they did just with a picture of the sky and they drew like white lines every once in a while. I don't know. It looked great though. I loved it. The rain sequence was really cool. One problem with these old horror films, they're really hard to hear people when they talk. But anyway, they end up at this man's house. He's apparently a doctor, kind of doing these weird, creepy experiments in his house. But he's very much a recluse. And it's Bela Lugosi, by the way. He's very old here. This is this is what, 55? My phone is making noises. I'm sorry, folks. Basically, he's so old here. And Tor Johnson is this mute guy that hangs around with him and kind of just beats up people and kills people and stuff to protect Bela Lugosi, since Bela Lugosi is kind of his master kind of thing. It's not like a trance type thing. It's just he's there. He just tries to protect Bela. He sneaks up behind the police. He beats up one of them, and, well, both of them, really. He gives one to an octopus that they have, and I'm not going to lie, the octopus thing, for somebody like myself that's terrified of fish and stuff, it got to me. I'm not going to lie. It was goofy, don't get me wrong. Like, you just had this guy laying on top of a big old octopus, like, kicking his legs and screaming, ah, ah, you know, and, like, the tentacles aren't really moving or anything. I think there was, like, one tentacle moving. It wasn't wrapping around him or anything. It was just kind of going up and down, you know, while this dude was laying on top of the octopus. It was really goofy. But that's the charm with these old movies. You don't see stuff like this anymore, and I love it and I appreciate it. And I recommend it to people who love Goosebumps because this kind of thing was a big influence on people like R.L. Stine, who wrote kind of this, I don't know if you know this, but Goosebumps has a lot of 50s and 60s sci-fi and horror just in its veins, period. A lot of the titles, like Not a Living Dummy, is a reference to Not a Living Dead from George Romero. You have so many great references to old stuff like that that I love too. That I like to talk about these things, to recommend it to younger viewers, because again, there's no nudity in these films, there's typically no gore, nothing too violent, but they are also slow, and I think a lot of the younger generation doesn't like stuff like that. And films like this don't set the best example, because you have things like Frankenstein and Wolfman that just move fantastically with the pacing, and they're scary, and they're fun, and eerie, and sad. They have some of the best characters in cinema, in my opinion. But a lot of kids don't have the interest in this, and I really wish you guys would give things like this a benefit of the doubt and give it a chance to watch. Bride of the Monster is not some kind of masterpiece. Again, it's nowhere on the level of like Frankenstein or Wolfman. It's just, it is what it is. You know, it's nothing special. It's just fun, for the most part. It's kind of slow, but still. Ed Wood got a really bad rap with this movie, and I don't think it's really fair. I don't know about his other filmography, but this is not fair, in my opinion. It's not the most well-shot thing ever. I love the set of the house, and I love the set of the woods and stuff. There's some really creepy moments in here. There's an alligator scene in here, or a crocodile, whatever, I don't care. There's something like that in this film that really got to me, too. But getting back to the plot, though, after those police are basically brutalized, you don't see any of it. You just see one cop basically get attacked by the octopus, and the other cop, or whatever he is, they try to do this experiment. This is one thing I forgot to mention. Bela Lugosi is also trying to create atomically, I guess, improved human beings, like almost like a Captain America type thing. Trying to use atomic energy to make you stronger and taller and bigger, almost like a giant, almost an unstoppable force. Like if you get shot, you ain't going down. You're gonna survive just fine. There's a lot of stuff like that here. It does have a lot of sci-fi in it because of that. And that works. You know, Goosebumps has that in it too. This is a big influence on things like that, like I said. And basically, Bela Lugosi is the one, like I said, doing these experiments, trying to turn people into these super soldier type things. And that cop that they actually let survive, that they tried to turn into a super soldier thing, he dies. He can't handle the process. They're still tweaking with it and everything. But there's also a woman that's a reporter. And she's trying her best to dig into these mysteries surrounding this place out in the woods and why this place keeps getting tied back to all these deaths, all these dead bodies that keep being found, all these urban legends about hauntings and ghosts and demons and stuff. And basically she and some other folk that are, I guess, cops and stuff, I don't exactly know. Again, there's some things in this film that I physically could not hear people saying because of just the old audio from back in the days. It's hard to keep up entirely with what they're saying. They also talk 100 miles an hour too. Yeah, it's kind of hard sometimes if you don't have subtitles, which Creepster does not offer that, as far as I know, at least for old films, it doesn't. I wish that was an option in a lot of public domain films. It would help a lot for people like myself who just can't keep up, but I'm stupid, what can I tell you? Anyway, these folks get together and go out to Bela Lugosi's house and start trying to investigate things there. They capture the woman that's the journalist and keep her, basically. Everybody else is going through this whole mystery of what's going on at this house and in this yard and stuff. Again, there's things like the alligator scene that I thought was awesome. I mean, it genuinely had my jaw dropped because I didn't expect to see that. I thought it was pretty cool. Again, pacing is very slow throughout the movie. It's not the best thing ever, but I liked it. I actually liked it. I thought it was a good movie. You know how you see a film every once in a while, you're like, you know, that wasn't amazing, but it was good. You know, especially with Christmas movies and stuff. That's how this felt to me. It was just good. I liked it. I thought it was decent. Not great. Not great, just decent. That's really all I have to say about the film. it wasn't amazingly filmed. I mean, you didn't really have the most unique directing styles back in those days, but for what it was as a monster flick, I liked it. I recommend it to people who like this kind of thing. If you like Ed Wood, I don't know if you like this. I don't really know what to say about that when it comes to that standard, because I don't know if you like the really schlocky, crappy Ed Wood stuff like Plan 9 from Outer Space, or if you like the good or a little bit better stuff like this. I don't know. If you like Ed Wood, maybe you'll check this out and like it too. If you like Bela Lugosi, I highly recommend it. He's very good here to be as old as he is. Tor Johnson, like I said, is playing a mute. He's just a big old broody guy that can't talk. So, you know, that's really all there is to say about Tor Johnson. Even though I like him, I think he's good in most things he's in, just because he plays typically a big old brute and everything. But he's fine here. I didn't hate his performance. He doesn't really have much to do. He just kind of stands around and attacks people. There are moments where he could easily stop somebody that's pointing a gun at Bela Lugosi, and he stands there for a minute when he enters the room. This happens like 2 or 3 times, and he walks in the room and he just stands there and he like slowly approaches and creeps up, grabs him around the neck and knocks the gun out of their hand. What? Again, it's not perfect, but yeah, check it out, guys. If you haven't seen Bride of the Monster, let me know down below what you thought about the film. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it if you do like the movie, or if you like Ed Wood stuff. What would you recommend from Ed Wood? I know he did things like Glenn and Glenda, or Glenn or Glinda, whatever the title was. I don't think I'll talk about that here on the channel just because of the content for anybody who knows about that movie. It's not appropriate for this, at least, here on my channel with the Goosebumps stuff. But things like Plan 9 from Outer Space, what do you think about stuff like that when it comes to Ed Wood? I'd love to hear all your thoughts down below just because I like schlocky stuff. I like old cheesy black and white horror films and monster flicks and creature features, if you want to call them that. I think that's the more appropriate phrase and terminology I'd use for these. But what are your thoughts on all these things? Put them down below. If I had to rate Bride of the Monster on a 5-star basis, I'd give it a 3 out of 5. I liked it. I thought it was decent. Not great. Not great. Not on the level of something like Frankenstein or Dracula, for that matter, or anything like that. But it was decent. I liked it. So anyway, what are your thoughts? Put them down below. Thank you for watching. Happy Halloween, guys. May the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys today, and goodbye.